even his biggest fans weren't quite prepared for his stunning work in Beautiful Boy. Please join me in welcoming Timothée Chalamet. Stand back up. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just sort of curious because it's almost 2 years to the day that Call Me By Your Name premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. What have these last couple years been like for you?
It's been great. I mean, I shot this right after, basically, in January and February of that year, and this is great. I'm really grateful that everybody came to see this today, and this is like this is a character-based movie, and it's like a tough subject matter, so it's not the easiest watch, so thank you for being here. And I don't know, I've been trying to work on things that are, challenging and feel like real stories.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to me because this is an unusual movie in that it's actually based on 2 memoirs. There's Beautiful Boy by David Sheff and Tweak by Nick Sheff. So I don't know if you read the books or if the script found its way to you, or how you first heard about the project.
I don't know. I guess I was aware of. I knew they were making it another production company, and I knew it was like one of these roles that was floating around that they were gonna do eventually. That'd be good for a young actor. So that was my awareness of it. And I guess I read the books once the audition came in because I just wanted to be as versed as possible. And it is an interesting thing that it's based on 2 memoirs. And I don't know if people in here have read both memoirs, but it definitely favors David's point of view. It takes his title, Beautiful Boy, and Tweak is a much different, very intense first-person narrative that is Nick's memoir, where a lot of there's a lot of it that's in the movie, but there's a lot that's not in it as well. That's quite jarring, present tense situations he was in.
That's what's so interesting to me. It's written kind of in the present tense, and like you feel like there's no before or after. And even though I'm reading this person's memoir, I wasn't sure he was going to make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the feeling in the movie too. And I think sometimes it's what's uncomfortable about the ending for people is, I think as an audience member, for whatever reason, or maybe with these kinds of stories, you're programmed to think like it's going to be a huge upswing and he made it, or it's going to be something really bad. And that's not the reality of what it is for people that are going through this. It's a day at a time, and people have decades of sobriety. Like Philip Seymour Hoffman had 2 decades of sobriety or something. So it's something that is ever present and something you battle day at a time, like it says in the movie.
So we are streaming this on Facebook Live, by the way. So hi everyone at home.
So
Oh, now you have to be careful.
No, I gotta open up more. I'm just like
no. I'm
okay.
Sorry, that wasn't direction. I was just remembering because we actually took some questions on Twitter, and one was, what made you feel compelled to take on the role of Nick?
Well, it was a job for and also. Like I said before, it was challenging and felt very complex too. Those are like the most interesting roles. I think it's what makes us most human, and it's what makes our art alive. Is people that are on one hand good and good family members and loving, and on the other hand are really complicated and I think that's what every actor or anybody wants to play those kinds of roles.
Now, help me out because I don't want to butcher his name, but your director, he's the director of The Broken Circle Breakdown. This is his American debut. Felix.
How would you say it?
Oh, God, you know what I do? I say it really fast. I go, Felix van Groningen.
Felix van Groningen.
See, I was actually practicing this morning, but then Google Translate told me something else, so I got nervous. But he said that he saw over 200 audition tapes. And they were casting this before Call Me By Your Name made such a splash at Sundance. So you really did have to audition for this role.
This is a really big audition process, and I auditioned the first 2 times in New York and then 2 times in LA. The last time was with Steve, and like the first time it was like one of these offices where you can hear the person go in before you. So
And what were you thinking?
I was just thinking, no, like it was that diner scene, so like everybody's going in there and freaking out, and like that's just a weird thing. So I don't know why I brought that up.
No, because auditioning is a very different skill from actually acting in a movie.
Yeah, and I told you this story back there, but like the casting director, when I met with Felix, he said, I really like this tape. I like this one take you did where it was maybe more explosive, and I went in with that casting director, and he stopped that take, and he said, no, bring it way down, like this is,
Really?
and so yeah, I mean, it's like you want to say like there's an art to it, but it's more like there's a luck to it. There's like a
So
randomness
much
to
luck.
it, and yeah, it's a terrible thing.
It is.
No.
It is so hard. And we should note he wasn't the final casting director on the movie. So.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
know what that was
Yeah.
something else. I don't know.
But have you had any of those like epically awful auditions that I think every actor experiences?
Oh, absolutely. Like, you know, I did some acting like when I was like 13 and 14 and growing up too, and I think like a lot of young people that grew up in New York and LA, it's like they need to get the young people from somewhere, so like the children and things. So kind of like the kids in this movie. Actually, they're not from LA or New York, but I'm rambling. What were we talking about again?
Oh,
Sorry.
epically awful auditions.
Epically, oh yeah. I mean, I did this Nickelodeon audition when I was 11 once, where the font was about this big and I wasn't memorized, so the whole thing was like this, and that's the one that always is jarring to me because you look up and you see the placidness, the nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of those La La Land experiences where they like take a phone call?
No, no, and I mean even this really, and it's why I feel a lot of gratitude to Felix, and this was like a something that I felt like I really like got or something, and Call Me by Your Name, which is something I'm so like grateful to have been into. I kind of stumbled into it. It was kind of like this. My agent's husband was a big fan of the book, and it just all kind of happened. And this was more like you said, a lot of kids were auditioning, so which also made it more like a pressure on the movie too, because it just felt like we got to get this right.
Mm-hmm.
The books had a lot of love. The New York Magazine article that David Sheff had originally written 10 years ago had a lot of love. So, and you're playing real people. That's a weird thing, as opposed to doing a book where you're playing fictional characters here to play a real person, independent of the nature of the movie or addiction or drugs. It's about love. It's about family. It's about a dad and a son. And that would be a big transgression if you were watching a movie of your life and somebody was, whatever, butchering it or something.
And you didn't meet Nick Sheff until shortly before filming, right?
Yeah, maybe like 3 weeks before shooting it.
Did it change, because I know you did a lot of preparation before that, and then did actually meeting him, did you change anything that you had planned to do, or was it more just about getting a sense of the guy?
Getting a sense of it, and he said it when we sat down. It's not a biopic, and generality is the enemy of art is what a teacher told me once. But at the same, you want to be very specific, but at the same time you want to be like self-serving and I'm going to do all these weird mannerisms or something
Right.
that an audience it's got to feel like real. It's got to feel like that diner scene. I'm really proud of. It's almost like an acting class, like a Stanislavski thing, where it's just face to face, and that's that the authentic. Oh man, I hope it doesn't sound like cliche or something, but the authenticity in those moments, that's more important than if they were mainstream personalities. It would obviously be like in Vice or something.
Right.
You have to you can't just be, but and certainly there's a process of more deletion is how I look at it. I don't want even the way I'm moving my hand right now necessarily to get in there, but I don't want to be self-serving either. I'm gonna pitch my voice a certain way, and then the whole movie's distracting because it's what is he doing?
Well, yeah, the good news is we don't know how Nick Sheff eats breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he has a loved one in the audience or something.
So no one's going to call you on that. We have another question from online. Where did it go? Oh, here. How did you prepare for the role you played in addition to meeting Nick?
A little bit of everything, which is something that Nick says about recovery. And for me, it was the books first and foremost. The time spent with him. Obviously, the very specific using sequences, like a heroin high would be different than a methamphetamine high. So watching the videos that of people stimulated on those drugs.
There are videos like that on YouTube?
Yeah, there's the
I'm
internet.
so naive.
There's a lot of stuff online. Yeah.
Wow, I have some
and
searching
then
to
other
do.
stuff too. And then losing in. I got this role, and Felix, the first phone call he said was okay, you gotta drop the weight now too. And I was like, I'm a skinny guy already, but
Where did it come from? I mean,
it from my hips. No, I don't know.
yeah, it looked like you lost weight, and I was like, how is that even possible?
And there's well, it was just certainly never so presumptuous. It's like not what anybody actually going through it would be actually going through, because obviously those drugs are way worse. But you know, to get not that whatever, the visual right felt right.
Well, I mean, there is the physical aspect to the performance, which is stunning, but it really is about the emotion and the heart. And, you know, seeing this family break apart, which I think everyone can relate to on some level. So sort of the mental preparation. I mean, do you sort of steel yourself going into a project like this? Like, you know, is there self-care that you take?
I felt like two traps, with one on that side of the spectrum, one being like steel yourself, like, oh, this is gonna be a crazy thing, and then on the other side, like almost being like, I need to be miserable and drunk and like in pain or something, because it's a lot of pressure you get as a young actor, and I feel like as a young male actor too, although I'm sure it works for everyone, where you feel like you got to create in pain or something, and you don't have to. You can. I don't think Meryl Streep is miserable. Like, I don't think so. So.
Well, you just worked with her. You tell us.
No, I don't think she was. So, yeah, I felt like, true to the conversation in the vein of mannerisms too, the idea of like, oh, again, like this has to be, I got to be on set pacing around and like banging my head against the wall. That felt like the trap. I had a notebook on this movie. I had my mantra, like my actor mantra, whatever, when I was shooting it, was look for the light, because the movie's about what it's about. Yeah. And Nick didn't know he was in a tragedy of sorts. He didn't know he was in a movie. And so you almost want to play against that. And that's why I like the scene in the sprinklers with the kids and like little improv moments with Steve at the table, just because it brings a little levity and yeah.
I'm very glad to hear that you were not miserable during the making of this film, even though I'm sure it wasn't easy. It kind of reminds me of that old joke that Laurence Olivier said, you know, try acting. Yeah,
but, you know, it's like a mix of everything. And you know, I went to LaGuardia, which is a performing arts high school in New York that nobody went to in here. Okay. And, yeah, okay.
You've heard of it, or you went there?
I've
there
heard,
you
okay.
go. Heard of it. Oh, no way, an alumni? Do you know this guy?
Performing arts? Yeah. My mom? My uncle was with you, yeah. So my uncle, my mom, my sister went there too, yeah.
You're kidding.
I mean, that's why I went. It was really just because it was like it's a public performing arts high school in New York, and I had all this energy. So what were we talking about again? Here now, I've lost
just that you don't have to put yourself through hell on a
yeah.
minute-by-minute basis.
We would have like actors come in and talk to us. Sometimes people would say like, "What's your process?" And you would get these like kind of highfalutin, pretentious answers that were really interesting, but you couldn't really apply to yourself. And then we had Edie Falco come, who was on The Sopranos, and Nurse Jackie. And somebody said, "What's your process, Edie?" And she like took a second, and then she was like, "I don't know. I just do it." And I think that's like, and for this kind of role too, the traps would have been the self-serving things like mannerisms, things like that. And it's true of Call Me by Your Name too. I think it's true of here, especially in the physical moments. It's like you want to be visceral, you want to be going through it, and yeah.
We have another question from online. Wants to know, how long did the filming process take, and was it filmed in order or all mixed, and how did that feel?
I think it was like 7 weeks. And we did like 6 in LA, and then we did 2 in like Marin County or Northern California, where it actually took place, and all that stuff on the beach. That's the actual beach they were on, and all the drawings in the film are actually the real life Jasper Chef was a PA on our movie, and he did all the drawings in those notebooks.
Wow.
The little brother.
Was he also like a consultant? Could you turn to him?
He sort of was, but I think it was surreal, and I want to say with like a healthy quality to it, but it's not for me to say, you know, for them. So they wouldn't really come on set as much, but it was certainly very helpful to have them there. And as far as shooting, yeah, we definitely went out of order, and that was a benefit on other movies I've done. Have been more chronological, and that was tough for you. I mean, there's 4 ups and downs to those relapses, and I guess the actor fantasy is to like really, like I don't know, make, you know, but I don't know.
Chart it out.
Yeah, exactly. Chart it out, and yeah, it's that Laurence Olivier story is with Dustin Hoffman. And there's a different Dustin Hoffman story with Robert De Niro, I think. I think this is right, so if I'm wrong, this is blasphemous. But I think De Niro was directing a movie that Dustin Hoffman was in. If anybody knows the name of that, all right, maybe it's not a thing. But and Dustin Hoffman said in this, or I was reading that he had his whole arc planned out, and that he really like every take did a kind of version of what he wanted to do, and that when De Niro directed himself, he just kind of did like 15 things and just saw what worked basically, and. So again, I think it's a little bit of both. Like you want to know what you're doing, but you also want to make it alive.
Yeah, I've heard a lot. The idea is to prepare, and then show up to the set and be willing to throw it all away.
Yeah, and that's why you gotta that's why it's really important to memorize things in advance. So you're not because it's once it's in your body, it makes man, so much about acting is so counterintuitive. It's really it's
like auditioning.
Like auditioning and or even, like for an audition for this, I would want to know, like you said, exactly how to present it, but then when it comes time to do it, it's a different thing. It's a different art almost. That
actually leads to another question. Quite a few people ask this, but were there any improvised parts of Beautiful Boy, or did it stay very true to the script?
No, I think it stayed true to the script. I think maybe some of the moments within it, but there's one bit, which is when the camera's circling the table and we're playing a game where we're finishing each other's sentences, but that's really the only specific moment.
I mean, everyone in this movie, but specifically you and Steve Carell, this film does not work if you guys don't have that relationship, and your chemistry is just off the charts. I know you were a fan of his going into meeting. How do you put away the fan side of you and work?
No, you don't. You have The Office playing in your headphones while you're looking at it, and you're like, no, it's really, I don't know.
Yeah.
You just try to ignore it, but I love Steve Carell. I love his acting. I love all his roles. I love The Office. I love The Big Short. I love Get Smart.
Yeah. Very underrated movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Get Smart is fantastic.
Bruce Almighty. How good is he in Bruce Almighty?
So good. So
like
good.
that bit where Jim Carrey's messing with his mouth.
Can we please get you two in a comedy together next? Because
he's about to do a comedy.
Really?
He's going to do that with Reese Witherspoon, right? It's like a morning news show.
I love that you know this, and I'm technically a film reporter and have never heard of this movie. A couple other questions from online. What was the emotional process like for you after wrapping the movie?
Very surreal. And,
yeah.
It's hard to finish a job because then you're unemployed, and but it was the thing you said about stealing yourself. That I didn't want to fall into the trap of that. It was still employment. It was still a good time. Steve Carell was there. I was like geeking out. It was fun. But it was more at the end of it. It was like, wow, that was your mind knows you're acting, but your body doesn't know you're acting. And there was a lot of stuff there, like that rain sequence and things like that. Again, not close to what they would have gone through, but it was still tough. So it was difficult to finish this, and was just hoping that it was, hoping it was good.
Yeah.
And, like that anxiety was deep. Yeah.
I mean, what was it like the first time you saw it? I know a lot of people don't even like to watch themselves on screen.
And I'm sure a lot of people here too, like the first time you see something, you're kind of like that. So, and that's everything I've ever watched of something I'm in. So, it was a bit like that. But then it was like I felt very, I found out Nick was seeing it. I told you this before. Like I found out Nick was seeing it on a Friday, let's say. And I didn't hear anything, and then I heard that he was seeing it like the following Tuesday again. So I thought, okay, that could be a good thing. And then I heard he was seeing it the following Monday again with his mom this time. So I thought, okay, good.
And you haven't heard from him all this time?
Well, I was like, if he hates it, this is so weird. But I keep seeing it. but then we had a nice phone call.
Really? I mean, would you feel comfortable sort of telling us what he said?
No, it was just no. I don't. He said this stuff, so it's I'm not.
He's
being
been
lecherous
very
or
profuse about his love for the film.
No, and he's been. I mean, we went to Missouri together. We went to some communities that were especially affected by addictions. We went to a town in St. Louis in Missouri, and a town outside of Austin in Texas, and outside of Minneapolis in Minnesota too. And it's it almost feels silly being on stage or doing them with him because I feel like I don't have anything. He has real substance to offer to what's going on, and I think it's a big badge of honor for him too. But it's it's a big responsibility to
Yeah.
kind of be, and it's a great thing for people to see that are going through it like a walking. You know, there's 4 relapses in this movie. He had 13 relapses over 7 years.
Wow.
There was a book tour of the book, and he relapsed on that, which he talks about in another book. So, but now he's been sober for 8 years. As it is, it's a day at a time. But when you're around him, you get a sense of someone that's like kind of at peace.
Yeah.
As he said, it wasn't like one thing that he feels like fixed it. It was a little bit of this, it was a little bit of this program, it was a little bit of this horrible experience, it was a little bit of this person with this advice, and it's like it's a day at a time, and it's really, really inspiring. And,
Yeah.
and Steve says the same thing. Whenever we've done Q&As with actual David and Nick, you really feel silly up there because they actually they're the
Yeah.
real thing. They're the real.
Yeah, but you're helping to tell this story that, again, I think in some way or another, everyone has been affected by addiction, you know, and it's interesting because in the last few years, you've made movies that are people respond to so personally. I mean, between Call Me By Your Name and Lady Bird, I mean, is it ever intimidating to sort of like have the weight of that on you?
No. I mean, I feel like the art takes place in the head of the audience member, and those were like very personal movies.
Yeah.
Like Lady Bird's a very intimate portrait of Saoirse, and I know I know.
What's it like? You just did no. You just did Little Women with Greta and Saoirse.
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
How is it different from working with them on Lady Bird?
There were a lot more people, but you know,
Yeah.
more. What was really cool about it, I just finished shooting that like maybe 2 months ago. I'd never gone into a job where I had already worked with people.
Yeah.
And I think everything I've done, which is true of like most experiences, is just you spend that first day or first hour or first whatever, like really
Yeah.
proving yourself.
You had to prove yourself to Greta and Saoirse?
Man, but on every, I mean every, I feel like every, not like in a like bruising shoulders way. But
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah.
I think they believe in you pretty strongly, so I think you're okay.
Have you done any Mary Queen of Scots Q&As?
Only with the director. Yes. Well, she's she's very intimidating in that movie.
She is. She's excellent.
We actually have a question that quite a few people asked. Do you have a favorite song on the Beautiful Boy soundtrack?
I think the Sampha one at the end, Treasure. I mean, Sampha is like, how did they get him? Like, that is an incredible artist. And, I mean, there's Sampha fans in here? Yeah, right? No, yeah. So, no, I love that song. And, but also Territorial Pissings, which is a Nirvana song. That was like during the shooting. We shot at USC one day, that college stuff.
Oh, you're kidding.
Was there, so I had my UE Mega Boom, and I had my Territorial Pissings playing, and a security guard came over and turned that on. So,
What's up next for you? Can you tell? I know you're attached to Doon, correct?
yeah,
That's something like have you ever done sci-fi?
Well, I was in Interstellar.
Yeah, I guess
I was I was the kid they didn't love in that.
they didn't love.
Murph. No.
I know Interstellar is sci-fi technically, but I think of it as like just such a family drama again.
Yes. Well. That I think that's. I don't know how interesting this is going to be to people in here, but that was, Steven Spielberg had a script of that was like purely sci-fi.
Really?
And then Christopher Nolan rewrote it like 15 years after that or something, and put in this family element that I love that. I love that movie a lot, and there's that Ellen Burstyn scene at the end with Matthew McConaughey. That's really
Oh my God, yeah.
surreal.
I mean, speaking of, you've worked with so many amazing directors, including Christopher Nolan. Who are you looking forward to working with next? And I know it's hard because you want to say everyone, and no one will be offended. But are there people, actors, directors, anyone you're dying to work with?
I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson. That's my favorite
Sure.
director, but I mean, I don't know what the maze is to get into one of his movies, but I think he's just the most brilliant director, and I kind of want to say everyone. I feel like, musicals, TV, anything that's good. I feel like as an actor, I feel like you're gonna make yourself miserable if I got to do, you just try to do good things. I think.
Would you do a musical?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
absolutely.
my gosh, have you done a musical before on stage?
I did them in high school. I did high school. No, not high school. I did a high school musical.
Which ones?
I did Sweet Charity. Everybody knows
No
that.
way.
And Cabaret.
Who were you in Cabaret?
MC.
Okay, we have to make this happen. I'm sure there are some Broadway producers watching.
We got to get Saoirse to be right. The
This is
Liza Minnelli
brilliant.
part.
I want 20% because this just happened
This
here.
just happened right here now.
That is a brilliant idea. Well, I do want to remind everyone, Beautiful Boy, you can still find it in theaters. You can watch it again and again.
It's actually streaming on Amazon Prime now.
That's a so
and literally half of America has Amazon Prime. Did you know that?
I didn't.
I think it's literally 50%.
That's amazing. I also want to say good luck to you tomorrow at the Golden Globes.
Thank you.
You are so deserving.
Oh man, thank you for saying that. Thanks, Janelle. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Janelle.